With the detection of African swine fever in the Dominican Republic, we identified a couple of areas that we wanted to try to maybe come back to, refine a little bit. And one of those areas was traceability. And so a working group was convened the end of 2023. And that working group included representation from a really broad swath of the industry, from folks that were contract growers. We had larger integrated systems represented, the exhibition sector, packers, state veterinarians, independent producers, and more. And we asked this group to help us review the current live swine traceability system, both at the federal and at the state level.
Welcome to the Swine Health Blackbelt Podcast, the latest swine health research digested for you. My name is Dr. Clayton Johnson, and I'm the host of the podcast. Joining me and returning to our illustrious podcast studios is Dr. Anna Forseth. Dr. Forseth is the Director of Animal Health at the National Pork Producers Council. Anna, thank you so much for coming back onto the show. I know you've been on here before, but just in case there's somebody listening for the first time, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sounds great. Thanks for the invitation back, Clayton. As you said, Anna Forseth with the National Pork Producers Council. I'm one of two veterinarians with the council, and I oversee pre-harvest swine health issues. So that includes issues like foreign swine diseases, gene editing, some antibiotic topics, welfare. So stay plenty busy, but looking forward to our conversation today on live swine traceability.
Salmonella presents significant challenges to pig health and performance and poses food safety risks to humans. As the first and only vaccine offering live attenuated strains of both Salmonella cholerae and Typhimurium, Enterosol Salmonella TC from Boehringer Ingelheim protects pigs against both serotypes with a single oral dose. Talk to your Boehringer Ingelheim representative to learn more.
Yeah, it sounds like you work on some pretty non-active and boring stuff. So I know we've got limited time, Anna. Let's dive right into it. Swine traceability, you and the good folks, National Pork Producers Council, and many other industry organizations have been working on a project here. Talk to us a little bit about what traceability means for pigs and pig producers, and then where are we at on this journey?
As you said, a lot of people have been working on this, and I would add a lot of people have been working on this for a long time. Live swine traceability is nothing new to our industry, and it goes back decades. But with the detection of African swine fever in the Dominican Republic, we identified a couple of areas that we wanted to try to maybe come back to, refine a little bit. And one of those areas was traceability. And so a working group was convened the end of 2023. And that working group included representation from a really broad swath of the industry, from folks that were contract growers. We had larger integrated systems represented, the exhibition sector, packers, state veterinarians, independent producers, and more. And we asked this group to help us review the current live swine traceability system, both at the federal and at the state level, and then identify maybe gaps relative to what the USDA import-export staff has been hearing about as they have conversations with trading partners related to regionalization agreements and otherwise. And so the outcome of this group was a set of traceability standards that were socialized very broadly for well over a year, that identified issues like premises identification numbers. They're not required for individuals who own pigs in all states. There are definitely some opportunities with higher risk categories of swine from a traceability perspective, like cull animals or show pigs. There's some opportunities for efficiency when it comes to record keeping and that sort of thing. So this group identified those gaps and tried to offer some solutions. It all came to Pork Forum 2024, so a year ago, in front of the voting delegates. They supported it, and we have since submitted it to USDA to consider including into their code of federal regulations that oversees live swine traceability.
So, Anna, this traceability program, you mentioned that producers obviously be involved. You mentioned state animal health officials, federal animal health officials. Is this a program that is producer driven and then the regulatory folks can access it? Or is it regulatory driven and producers need to contribute their information, or kind of a hybrid of both?
Yeah, that's a great question for clarification. And it would be a part of the regulatory system. So this was a very proactive and commendable effort by the industry, because what they were essentially signing up for was additional regulation when it came to traceability. So the goal would be for it to be, considered and adopted into code by the federal government, which means that these requirements would pertain to interstate movements. But yes, it would be something that producers would be required to abide by.
And the primary value, I know you mentioned export partners. I would assume there's some domestic value as well, right? Certainly for monitoring domestic disease and managing a foreign animal disease if it became a domestic disease, but potentially even for producers that want to participate in maybe like niche marketing programs where you can actually trace the pork back to the farm it came from. So maybe I'm thinking too much of it, but I would presume that it has value for however pork and pork producers want to use it.
Yeah, no, I agree. That was certainly a discussion point, a talking point. While that wasn't necessarily the primary focus or the reason why this group got together to try to address this and improve this, it certainly is an added benefit.
And you guys have submitted kind of a package of information to USDA. Would you call it like a full proposal, or is it more some ideas to get their general feeling on?
So we submitted a petition to USDA. So it was a letter asking them to consider and accept the standards that got broad industry support. We definitely included some more information about the voting that took place and the importance of that delegate body, right, representing all of our member states. And so that was submitted the week after Pork Forum last year. So right away after we got that vote of approval. And as of now, and this was expected, we continue to wait on anything, more official to come, but would expect as a next step from USDA, that industry would have an opportunity for comment on those standards. So that would be the next opportunity for producers.
Any timeline that producers can expect when that USDA response comes? Are they tied with the petition to a very specific timeline to reply?
No, not necessarily. We're kind of at their mercy and their timeline. Prior to the administration change, which I think is important to, just to keep in mind, the best guess was implementation sometime in 2027. But it's a new administration, and so we don't really know what the realistic timeline will be.
If I'm a pig producer or even allied industry, like a veterinarian like myself, what should I be thinking about right now to position myself for success when the 2027 or whenever this program would go into place? Are there proactive steps I can take right now to prepare my operation?
Yeah, sure. And in fact, we've taken kind of a subset of that traceability task force and pulled them together to do just that, try to figure out what lower hanging fruit there might be with these traceability standards and try to encourage producers to implement some of these standards ahead of time. And those would include registering from a premises identification number as an example. We know a large portion of our commercial industry is already utilizing PID numbers, but there are a number of smaller producers, perhaps specialty producers, that might not have a PID number. So that's one example. Encouraging people to use an electronic software system, even if it's an Excel spreadsheet or something like EggView, to keep records, would be a couple other examples. But so this group is working through some of those ideas, and then we'll work through their state exec, their state veterinarians, and by other means to try to get that information out and get some of this implemented in the meantime.
Very good. Sounds like there's some practical things that producers can do. Maybe they're already doing them, but if not, if you don't have electronic records of pig movement, that's probably going to be a big issue and something you need to focus on right now. It's great advice, Anna. Appreciate all you do to help protect our pig industry and help us prepare for the worst case scenarios. Thanks so much for coming back on the podcast.
Yep. Thanks again for the invite.
Yep. Well, it's my pleasure to have you on. And Anna, we couldn't do this without the folks who listen to it. So thank you to our audience for joining in. If you haven't subscribed to the Swine Health Blackbelt Podcast, please do so. Go check out our website at swinehealthblackbeltpodcast.com. For Dr. Anna Forseth, I'm Dr. Clayton Johnson. It's been a pleasure to chat with you. We look forward to doing it again next week. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.